Hopefully everybody's doing well. Thank you for being on with us. I think we'll be okay. You know what? I'm gonna go and get something to cover this up just in case. I think we'll be all right though. I think we'll be all right. I don't know if it's gonna work the way I want it to. Probably not. I don't want to cover up the camera, but probably gonna end up covering up the camera. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. If we need to, at least I can make sure I cover up our keyboard. Crazy, yeah. That's the main thing. I don't want anything seeping into, but we should be all right out here. It's not the greatest weather, but we can still at least have some conversation and some dialogue. Praise yeah. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your Hub's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message, tonight's message. Aman. Welcome, everybody. Shalom, peace. Happy Juneteenth, all that great stuff. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Have a little sit down, have a little conversation. Thank you for being on with us once again, though. Appreciate you. Hopefully, everybody's doing well, no matter where you are. Amen. How you doing? We give all honor and praise to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A and D, letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Can you guys hear me on YouTube? I got a towel over the keys. I just realized that might mean it's covering the speakers. Can you guys hear on YouTube all right? Can you guys hear and see on TikTok all right? How you doing, Romac? How you doing, Sister Monica, Coco? First the TikTok, then the talk. Or first the tick, then the talk. All right. How you doing? Shalom. Brother Terrence, Sister Deja. You can hear? All right, cool. How you doing, Sister Mignon, Minister Tamara? Praise Yah. Sister Sage. Everybody, appreciate y'all presence tonight. Aman. So, in our conversation for this evening, and you can see for different reasons I won't be on the whole time. Matter of fact, sunset's going to happen soon. So once that happens, we'll take our leave. But on Juneteenth, look, you guys by now, hopefully, would know the story behind Juneteenth. You would hopefully know all the different things that have happened. You would hopefully know a lot of the stuff historically that people would want us to get into. And so I'm not going to go into that tonight. Happy Juneteenth to you. We know what's happened, things like that. I'm going to do a little bit of explaining, but I want to talk about a Juneteenth mindset in this regard, right? I want to be very specific with what it is that we're about to get into, right? I want to talk about a Juneteenth mindset. How you doing, Minister Joseph? What I mean by Juneteenth mindset, how you doing, Sister Joy? What I mean by Juneteenth mindset is as follows. Is when we're talking about a Juneteenth mindset, I'm talking specifically about a mindset in which we have to realize and comprehend that one of the main things that happens with Juneteenth, the reason why the 10th is on there, is because chattel slavery was supposed to be abolished, right? And the word was supposed to be given to those who were losers, those who had lost it, those officially, technically had no power anymore. But what happens is what? Instead of giving those who are still dealing with difficulties and enslavement, etc., instead of giving them a heads up, giving them a message, giving them the word, telling them the truth, what do? They covered it up so that they might be able to make you slaves a little bit longer. And then, once forced, they actually took a lot of the slaves, took them down to Brazil. That's why Brazil still has Confederate flags and stuff like that, and does Confederate ceremonies still to this day. It is not just a United States corporation thing, if you didn't know that, right? But that's why Brazil is still in the business of celebrating the Confederacy. And some people would say, I didn't even know they did that. Yeah, because they took slaves. All that being said, all these people are taken, all the slaves are taken, etc. And they finally let go. And then, we begin as a people to celebrate Juneteenth. It's become something that's for our people, something that we use to remember where we came from. I might have to move. This is ridiculous. As soon as we start now, it picks up. But others want to get involved in what is ours now, right? And what happens in all this stuff that others want to get involved with? What happens? Why do they want to get involved? Well, because it's American history now. No, it was never American history. It was ours. So now, as part of the whole extension of BLM, and a lot of you guys have been seeing a bunch of stuff that we've been talking about with BLM. Yes, Black Lives Matter, but the organization is not doing anything for Black lives. And now, as an extension of that, what happens? The Biden administration, Biden is out here biting, right? And he comes along and he says, okay, we're going to go ahead and do Juneteenth. And it's going to be everybody's celebration. So now all of America must celebrate Juneteenth. And it's a federal holiday and all this stuff when it was something that belonged to you. And I want to talk about a Juneteenth mindset. I'm going to have to stand up with these devices. Hold on one second, here. I thought we would be fine. I came over here because we'd be fine. And now the devices are getting rained on, so forgive me. I got to make sure that this stuff is going to be okay, or else I won't be able to use it again. So give me a second as I make sure that I don't lose my devices forever because I'm trying to do something tonight. Give me 1 second. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me okay, right? Seeing me might be a problem if you're on TikTok. I'm going to try and adjust as best I can, but we're going to do what we can. Praise God. And do what we can. Try to wipe down the devices now. Praise God. But talking about this Juneteenth mindset. There's a Juneteenth mindset. If we're not careful, we allow it to come in, which is where somebody did something against you and did it against you for a really long time, did it very well against you, and then all of a sudden, now that it gets votes, or now that it'll have people be intrigued with you, forgive me, TikTok or YouTube if you can't hear for a second, right? I'm doing some really interesting stuff to make this work. We're gonna make it work. So now everybody wants to join in on what is your victory. Wouldn't let you have freedom. Then all of a sudden you find a way to celebrate it. When people realize that they can benefit from it, now all of a sudden it's something that they need to go ahead and talk to you about, holler at you about. How can we help? How can we make this an American thing? How can we celebrate what you guys have been celebrating? Because we need to celebrate you. You could have celebrated us all these years. It's like, for example, Memorial Day. Right? As somebody who's in the military, just in case before somebody says, you don't know what you're talking about, you never served, I've served. All right. It's just like Memorial Day. A lot of people don't know Memorial Day was something that we celebrated. We celebrated our fallen. For years, nobody cared. Nobody said anything about it. Then all of a sudden, it became popularized. And now Memorial Day belongs to everybody. But y'all didn't care about, the fallen. Matter of fact, the Confederacy cared more about it than the Union did. The Daughters of the Confederacy. The South will rise again. That was them using propaganda to say that they fought for states' rights rather than the states' rights to own slaves. That's the only reason why. Those were the only people giving any shout out to those who had fallen. That was all y'all had, right? And all this stuff about General Grant was a bad guy and this and that. The Southerners loved General Grant up until it was easy for them to try and say that he was a bad guy because General Lee lost and they had to make General Lee look great. Now, I'm saying all this because, once again, this is a Juneteenth mindset. I celebrate Juneteenth. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying don't celebrate Juneteenth. Hey, Sister Sonia. I just found a picture of you, and I found a picture of you and Sister Marion from Detroit. Great picture that we have of y'all. But I was looking at that earlier, actually, last couple of days. It's come across my site, but nice to see you again. Great to see you. But yeah, so when we talk about the Juneteenth mindset, we know what Juneteenth is. We know where it came from. We know how it started. I'm talking about the mindset that tells you that we're going to keep something from you And then all of a sudden, when you find a way to benefit from it and use it as a rallying cry, now we take it away from being your rallying cry to being something that everybody uses. Right? And that's something that happens a lot. If you guys remember, I don't know how long ago this was. It's on YouTube somewhere. We talked about the Bill Russell effect. I don't know if you guys remember that. Right? How you doing, Minister Tamara? Once again, happy born day to you. I don't know if you remember. We talked about the Bill Russell effect. Bill Russell passed away, was it last year? And he passes away. And everybody is like, Bill Russell was this great guy, and he fought for the rights of many, especially for his people. And he was somebody that the NBA loved. And if you're not careful, you'll miss the fact, right, that they kind of had this Juneteenth mindset with Bill. What do I mean? They had a Juneteenth mindset with Bill. They had a Juneteenth mindset. Bill Russell was somebody who people who were not part of our diaspora could not stand. Now, Boston, who is has a history of being very racist, they actually did a lot of damage to him and his psyche. He wins 11 championships, wins 11 championships in 13 years, got to the championship 12 times, or no, won every time he went. Got to the championship 11 times out of 13 years, won 2 championships as a player coach. Does all this stuff, but they're kicking his trash cans over. They're spraying the N-word on his stuff. The police won't support him to the point to where he has to tell the police, if people keep coming on my land and doing crazy stuff, I'm going to have to go ahead and take them out by any means necessary. And then all of a sudden they write a letter to people saying, yeah, maybe you might not want to mess with Big Bill like that because he got something for you. And all this stuff happens, right? I'm not making any of this up. All this stuff comes into play. Okay, looks like the rain died down, so I'm trying to sit down again. Right, but all this stuff comes into play. Then Bill passes. He passes away. And once Bill passes, all of a sudden, everybody loved him. All of a sudden, he's the greatest example we have. All of a sudden, he changed the game. The game, what would the game be without it? All of a sudden, hey, he wasn't just some ornery guy that was ornery for no reason. He had a right to be ornery because of the way that people mistreated him and misused him, and he still fought for his people. But I'm not saying I don't forgive, but we're not gonna act like y'all are all of a sudden his greatest supporters, because I remember him not coming back to Boston. You guys were shocked. Bill Russell's not going to come back to Boston. He wants to coach in Sacramento. He doesn't want to step foot in the place that he won all these championships. No, because he couldn't stand being there. Just because you want to shift the narrative now because it makes everybody look like they were on the same team doesn't mean everybody was always on the same team. This is a Juneteenth mindset. You got to be careful. How you doing, Brother Vincent? Right? How you doing, Zahara? This is a Juneteenth mindset. You better be careful. There's a lot of people. There are a lot of people out here who are busy trying to tell you that this stuff belongs to everybody. This did not belong to everybody. This day was yours. Matter of fact, this day wouldn't even be yours if everybody had treated you fairly in the first place and had admitted to you that you were no longer enslaved. You said it's funny because black always seem to forget the bad that famous black people do. Well, I mean, we shouldn't forget the bad. We also shouldn't forget the greatness, and we shouldn't forget the things that our enemy has done. And I'm not even saying all white people. I'm saying our enemy. Not all white people are your enemy, just like all black people ain't your friend. But I'm just saying we should be honest, bare minimum. How you doing, Big Brother Thomas? So just like how they celebrate Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for vilified him in his day, 1967, the Summer of Love, I think. 1967, there were more cases of people, and this is before social media. So there's more cases in 1967 of people being murdered than there was in the whole Black Lives Matter, movement, especially when it picked up in 2020. There were more people dealing with that back then. And they did a census in 67, the year before he's killed, and in 68, the year he's killed. And in both censuses, one census, they say that he's asking for too much too soon. And he was saying, hey, maybe you should make sure that we get paid. Maybe we should talk reparations. Maybe black boys and white boys, they're going to need to do that. But black boys and white boys, black children and white children should be able to hold hands. in '68 when he was murdered, when he was assassinated, they said that he was not only asking for too much too soon. Many people said that he deserved what he got, and that's in a census. Those are United States census by the United States Corporation. A Juneteenth mindset will have you under the belief that the same people who are the reason why you had to celebrate positivity out of a dark place. A Juneteenth mindset will make you think that the people who had you to celebrate positivity out of a dark place are the same people now who should be able to enlighten you and keep you out of the dark. How you doing, Sister Elaine? Oh, thanks, babe. I see it. Appreciate it. Right? You hear what I'm saying? Like a Juneteenth mindset. Celebrate yourself. But I want you to comprehend, right? That, yeah, like if reparations is your aim, I've already told you I believe that you deserve reparations. But let's keep it a buck. They're not giving it to you. But and you should do some inward reparation. You should start making sure that you spend it on your own, right? And by the way, that's how your people, when they were segregated, that's how they had to do stuff anyways, right? Like a lot of just a generation prior to us, a lot of them, guess what they had to do? Guess what a lot of them had to do? A lot of them had to live together. Same stuff y'all make fun of, like Mexican people when they do, with people from Vietnam or people from China when they come over and stuff. They had families that were living in the same places, same apartment, 9, 10, 11 people sleeping in the same room, trying your best to make sure that you get stuff together. And then you started buying up the neighborhood. And through segregation, you actually couldn't go to anybody else. So you had to have your own businesses. You had to have your own car companies. You had to develop this stuff. You had to have your own railroads. Right? What they're trying to do with the Juneteenth mindset is try to say, and by the way, think about it. They instituted it as a national holiday. It's not bigger than what it was last year. There's like Black History Week. They changed it to a whole month. At first it was just asked for a week. It was changed to a whole month, by the way, not by you, by somebody else. Granted, I think they meant well. Granted, I believe they meant well. But they gave you a whole month. And they gave you a whole month. What did they do with it? They gave you 4 weeks. Sometimes 4 weeks in a day. What has that changed in your educational system? How you doing? I think it's Sister May. How you doing, Sister Beverly? So I apologize. Is it too windy for y'all to hear? Because it's getting crazy out here. On YouTube, y'all are shaking back and forth. Can y'all hear me at all? It's kind of a meaningless exercise. You can still hear enough? Okay. It's going to be a rough couple of recordings. I apologize. I guess no matter what. I'll try again. I don't know. I'm going to try again from outside tomorrow. Can't hear anything. Okay. So we'll just do the best we can. So prayer has been given. Holy Spirit says stay, will stay. So the Juneteenth mindset. The Juneteenth mindset is one that you have to be aware of. Right? The Juneteenth mindset is one that you must be aware of. Where something that you've done, that's something for your community. It's something that somebody can easily move in on and say that we loved it the whole time. We loved you the whole time. If anything, it's Nicolaitan doctrine. It's Balaam doctrine. It's not about Yashta. And remember, we had two observations out of the text the other day with the other night. I don't remember what it was the other night, which was coming from what might have been last week. No, when was it? I don't remember when it was. But we had two observations from the text, right? Where we had Romans. No. What was that? Romans chapter 11, verse 1. Romans chapter 11, verse 2. I don't know what that was. It could have been today for all I know, right? Romans chapter 11, verse 1. Romans chapter 11, verse 2. Right? Romans 11:1. Romans 11:1 basically says what? Romans 11:1 tells us specifically that just because Israel is messed up does not mean that we should preach or teach that Israel is no longer necessary, right? And that Israel has lost its spot. As much as I don't want to do this, we might have to just call this. If y'all want to be patient, we can sit here patiently for a little bit, but I don't know. But Romans 11:1. Let's be faithful, obedient. Romans 11:1. I don't know who's at this point. I don't know if you're getting this or not. I'm just talking at this point. Romans 11:1 tells us that just because Yasel has messed up, has Elohim cast aside or cast away his people? It says Elohim forbid. We should forbid such mindset, such thought process, right? And Romans chapter 11, verse 2 comes behind that and tells us what? It says that he has not cast away his people, which he foreknew. He foreknew Yashda'al, right? So when we say who he foreknew and all this stuff, we never add that there. Where it's talking about who did he foreknew? He foreknows his people. He foreknows those who he had covenant. It's talking specifically, right? He who he foreknew has some context to it, as much as we don't want to pretend that it does. So if it should have some context, right? We can't have a Juneteenth mindset that says, hey, everybody just gets this. Now look, can you be grafted in for certain? Doesn't mean only Israel can get into heaven. That's not true, right? Revelation chapter 3, verse 9 tells you that you better be ready to teach those that come into this knowledge, right? So you better be ready to teach those who are trying to come into this knowledge, but we're not going to act like Yah's promises are not yea and amen. Correct? See, so there are a lot of people who will have us go through this mindset, through this foolishness of having a Juneteenth mindset and saying that, hey, all this stuff that we know you guys keep trying to use against us to disprove who we are and to say that we don't belong where Yah says we belong. And to keep saying now this must become everybody's. This must be what everybody wants. This must be something that everybody can bow down to. It's not so. Juneteenth was yours because of what the people who now say that this was something they always upheld. It was yours because of that. It was a way of you celebrating each other and celebrating that even when the enemy would not tell you who you really were. You catching that? Even when the enemy would not tell you who you really were. you were still able to make it past that. Right? That's what that was about. And now it's supposed to just be another American thing. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. told you, I was gone to the other side. I seen the mountaintop. I might not get there with you. And now those of us who are supposed to be going over the mountaintop keep talking about that this was for everybody. That was not for everybody. Did everybody need somebody to say on their behalf that it's a cruel joke to tell a man to pull himself up by his own bootstraps when he has no boots? Was that for everybody? How you doing, living in that? How you doing, Sister Helen? We shall overcome. Did everybody need to overcome? Do you hear what I'm saying? Like, we have to be honest about this. Now, once again, this is not a declaration of hate. This is not me doing what many of my brethren unfortunately do, which is trying to tell you why everybody else gets to be hated upon and they'll never be able to be anything and we can't teach them and all this stuff, whatever. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm saying that we have to come from a place of honesty. Can we be honest for a little bit? How you doing, Sister Joy? Can we be honest? Can we speak the truth? Because truth separates, and some people want to separate from this conversation because you don't like truth. But the truth of the matter is that you got to be careful who you keep letting into your house. Yeah, it's always cultural, and we have to respect your culture too. But we have to be careful who we keep allowing into our house. Right? The NAACP wasn't even started by you, but we keep talking about it, honoring it. It wasn't until 2021 or 2022 that you were allowed to even have the first black president over the NAACP, not over a chapter. So I'm talking about a chapter when there's a whole book. You weren't even, you got your first, for those of you who were part of it, I told you I used to be part of it myself, paying member at one point. And kept asking, when are we going to do? When's the next meetup? When's the next protest? What can I do to help? Can I help to speak at an event? Whatever. And they said, oh, no, it's not about that. Just we have something coming up. And can you make sure that you can have $200 ready so you can pay? We can have $200 per plate at our next get together. Yeah, you can't invite everybody to the cookout. Isn't it interesting? Everybody keeps talking about coming to the cookout. Please let me come to the cookout. I promise there won't be raisins in the potato salad. And everybody goes, oh, that's so funny. And no, it's a microcosm of something that keeps happening. We keep laughing at things without actually talking about what needs to change. I need to be able to come to your dances. You know they don't have any flavor over here. Look at this, and they make fun of it. But it's like, look, stop belittling this. You know, Sister Patricia, we keep belittling this. Yeah, the organization NAACP is about money. NAACP Image Award. What is the Image Award about? Who are the people that are winning the Image Awards? Dwayne Wade, Gabrielle Union, on behalf of their child Zion, win the NAACP award, and are talking about how they need to make sure life is better for who they claim to be their daughter. I won't be disrespectful to their wishes, because I don't believe in disrespecting cultures, even if they're living in a culture that's not my own, right? So you say you want to redo how Yah made him, or you think that Yah is not who he says he is. Okay, you deal with the consequences of that within yourself. That being said, right? What did that do for our people? Making sure that somebody that doesn't want to identify with who they were created to be, you say that they were actually created to be that, or what the creator made them, maybe that's not great enough. Okay, you do you. In all that you did, what did it do for us? What did that have everybody think of our image? I want us to think about it. See, people don't care about that. How you doing, Brother TJ? That's part of the problem. People do not care about that. But what did that do for your image? I would say I was saying nothing at one point, Sister Nadine, but I would even go deeper. How you doing, Minister Samantha? Because if I be honest about it, how do you think that made fathers in our community look? People would say, oh, you're going too far. Why can't we have honest dialogue? I won't stay on it too long because I know somebody will come in here and be mad, right? But how How do you think that made our fathers look? How do you think that made our sons look? How do you think that made our women look? How do you think that made our daughters look? Zion deserves the full rights as our daughters do, even though our daughters are out here being mistreated still. But you're going at any woman who would come against your daughter because they don't meet your criteria. The whole world saw us in a few moments. We listened to it the other day. I forget what we did, but we listened to it the other night. And all it took was a few minutes for you to get up on stage and for the world to see. The same time, by the way, I guess we're keeping it about the same time that Tyler Perry, who we already know is, okay, there's enough rumors out there, there's enough smoke where there got to be fire somewhere to where he is not obviously attracted to men only. I'm not even talking about just the fact that he wears a dress all the time, right? I'm talking about there's rumors out there, if you know what I'm talking about. And there's enough smoke out there to where obviously he doesn't mess with, or it seems to be. How about I say allegedly, right? Just for educational purposes only. Let me use my words correctly. Allegedly, he doesn't really rock with our sisters all the time sexually, and sometimes find brothers more appealing. And the same night, see, people don't want to connect dots. You mean the same night that's going on is the same night that all of a sudden this war goes, the same night that now, and I'm just be honest with you, I kept trying to find which one was Zion in the crowd when they kept showing, but they showed so many trans people that I couldn't even find out. Like, it was planted. So the whole world is looking at us and says, that's your standard. So just like Bruce Jenner, Woman of the Year, disrespectful in lies, yeah. The whole world. Now, nobody wants to discuss this. Nobody wants to. I'm just being honest with you. Let's just be honest. This is not me hating on anybody. This is me telling you, I want you to see it from a different perspective. What do you think that does, especially when you're trying to become a nation? What do you think that does? And this was strategic because guess what? Yesterday was Father's Day. Guess what they did? Guess when this happened? About 5 or 6 days before Father's Day. And Dwayne Wade, remember, he came out and he said, my responsibility as a father. This is what he said. Remember, we listened to it. Go listen to the recording, or go listen, in depth to the actual speech that was given. He said, my responsibility as a father, he was redoing what Yah said. He said, my responsibility as a father is to make sure that you can lead me and tell me who you're supposed to be, and make sure that I don't, he didn't even say God. He said, make sure that I forget the word he used, but to make sure that I give you every ability to do whatever you want, basically. Appreciate this, Sister Deja. Right? So now the father is saying, I'm not supposed to be not only in charge of my son, I'm not supposed to be in charge of my house. I'm not supposed to be the foundation for my house. I'm not supposed to have a backbone. I'm supposed to listen to whatever my child tells me, including something that they're not even mature enough to talk about yet, because that child is not even of the age yet in our culture where they get to be able to even have the community say that they are a male or a female. See, this is why we got to talk culture. We got to bring this thing back. That's why we talked about in our membership series, when we started saying, okay, we're going to start dealing with membership. We're going to get back to our 7 F's. We're going to make sure we send you guys out a pamphlet. We're going to give you guys at least a draft, and then we're going to give you the original one, right? And we're running down membership and all this now. We're tweaking some things and tightening some things up. We got to tighten up, because people feel like they can come in with whatever they want. And when it doesn't look like how they feel, they start manipulating the word of Yah. If you were to ask Dwayne Wade, whose mother's a pastor, so that he's not somebody who's ignorant. Now, his mother at one point was dealing with being, excuse me, sorry. His mother at one point was dealing with being addicted to drugs and things like that. But his mother's a pastor. He sold into his mother's church and had a whole building built for her, all this stuff, right? Praise Yah for obedient son, forgiving his mama, all that. But I'm saying you can see some things that aren't making sense. Right? There's some things that aren't making sense. Now, once again, I'm just saying, like, if anything, if you're going to say that, then why don't you guide your child to that decision? Why is it I have no responsibility? But see, nobody wants to talk about the fact that we're telling people that we have no responsibility. We're so busy telling people that we have no accountability. As a father, I'm not supposed to make sure my children are trained. I'm supposed to make sure my children train me, but my children don't even know morality, standards, how life works, how their system works. Yeah, do as thou wilt. And that's not your culture. Whether you're somebody who believes in the Bible, whether you're somebody who's creationist, whether you're somebody who's in evolution, that's not it. That's not your culture. Alexander Crowley, he's a devil worshiper. Why are you more in tune with the devil worship? That's not your culture. You worship Lucifer, the devil, whatever you want to call him. Why is that all of a sudden something that you need to be in tune with? Why is that someone you need to be in tune with? Why is that something that you need to go ahead and give honor to? Why are you fighting so hard? See, people come on. Why are you fighting so hard for that? It's not even your culture. I don't want to be part of the culture. I don't want to be part of society. I'm an individual. That's a bad move because every individual is based off of their society. Every society is based off of a group of individuals. You cannot tell me that you're an individual if I don't have a society to compare you to. Right? Without a society to compare you to, how do I know your individual tendencies? How do I compare you against somebody? How do I compare you as a basketball player if I've never seen you play basketball against anybody else? How do I compare you as a mother if I never see another mother? How do I see if you were a great mother or not if I don't see how you raised me or did not raise me? Everybody got stuff that they're saying, but it doesn't make sense. No man is an island. Mm-hmm. And right, no man is an island. No woman is an island. It's not righteous for you. It's not constitutional for you. It's not, no matter, once again, if you're talking about creationists, if you're talking about as a creationist, somebody who's into evolution, there is no such thing as being alone. Matter of fact, if you get into Charles Darwin, which people bring up Darwinism all the time, which is one of 6 different types of evolution. But if you bring up Charles Darwin talks about that there are some groups that need to be, whether you want to call them races, you want to call them species or whatever, there's groups of what we would call creation that are supposed to be together to make sure that they survive better. You know, they used to always say stuff like rhinos wouldn't get together. And then they found out that rhinos always get together. You just don't see it. They get together at night. They congregate. There's safety in numbers. They can't see that well anyway. So especially at night, they come together. Ain't too many predators, no matter, there's not really any predators that are going to mess around with a group of rhinos coming together. I don't care if you're a group of elephants and you're upset and it's all males that come. You're not really going to fight off a bunch of rhinos by yourself. A tiger, lives by itself his whole life, needs to come together with another tiger to have cubs. Once they have tiger cubs, the cubs are protected by the mother. A lot of times they say the father goes away. The problem with that is, though, is that the father, even if he's not living with them, always goes around the perimeter. This is why we've seen tigers, when mothers get killed, the father finds the killer. I'm sorry, when they get off, the father finds the hunter, right? And ends up taking out the hunter. And then there's even been cases of the father raising the cubs, even though he has no milk. Right? But people would tell you that, in evolution, every man for himself or every animal for itself. No, that's not the way that works. But once again, see, a Juneteenth mindset lets you have a person that has manipulated the story so much that you don't even believe that you are who you're supposed to be, has now manipulated it to a point to where you don't recognize yourself in your own story. It's everybody's. But is it? Is it really everybody's story? Is it everybody's responsibility? Is it everybody's thought process? Is it everybody's language? Is it everybody's clothing? That's a Juneteenth mindset. I'm not saying, once again, don't celebrate Juneteenth. I'm saying Juneteenth is yours. Why is it America's? The standard for woman is yours. Why is it everybody else's? Right? Savar Yashrael, or the scrolls of Israel, right? This journey that we're on, this path, this walk, people who are followers of the way, or even in the way. That's not everybody's, that's yours. And you're supposed to teach your story. Why is it always his story more important than yours? And this is for anybody. I've said this often, right? If I go to Ireland and I meet an Irish lass, and the Irish lass is beautiful within her culture, she's beautiful within her culture. You come to Ghana, there's some different things we're looking for. And it doesn't mean that you're less beautiful. It just means through my lens, I'm not looking for what you bring. I mean, we shape different. If I see one of y'all, no offense, but if I see one of y'all shaped like one of us, it's actually surprising to me, because I'm like, that's not normal. You don't even like that in your culture. Y'all call your girls that people call thick or whatever. Y'all talk about them like they bad. And I'm not saying every woman has to be exactly this, whatever. I'm just saying, right? Like, there's certain things that I look like. I find what they would call a big nose on a sister. That's something that I find amazing, because I grew up with a bunch of sisters who had big noses. If I see one of the noses on you, I know that you got something in your blood, because that's not part of you, and that's not something that you have lived. Matter of fact, you tell a bunch of our sisters to go ahead and shave that down, right? To shave that down. Right. So what I'm saying is, in our ability to even try to come together, because I say this all the time, not all skin folk is kinfolk, right? Not every white man is evil. That's foolishness. That's dumb, right? But at the same time, there's certain things that should be your culture. Yeah. And why did you grow up insecure about that nose? You grew up insecure because everybody else who was over you, who was over your school system, who told you this, and about, who made fun of you. So the same stuff. They told you to shave it down, all this stuff. How you doing, Alicia? Thanks for being on. I don't know if it's Alicia or Alicia. Thanks for being on either way. Right. I'm just saying, there's some things that we're having conversations about that don't make sense. A Juneteenth mindset, if we're not careful, is the same mindset that's used in all these other things. Everybody's always telling you how you're loved and you're appreciated and this and that. But it's like, you didn't love me. I'm not going to forget or act like you know. People always say stuff that's crazy. Why are you bringing it up? That's a long time ago. Does anybody in here know anybody that was like, it's really weird. Like, so let's say King, right? Back to Dr. King, great man, did things and wanted everybody, by the way, didn't just want our diaspora to be taken care of, although he worked hard for it. He wanted everybody to love each other, right? But when somebody tells me it was a long time ago, 1968, let's do the math real quick. 78, 88, 98, 2008, 2018, add 5 more years. That's 53. I'm sorry. What did I say? 5 more years. Sorry, 55 years. I can count. My bad. 55 years. Does anybody know anybody that's older than 55? Matter of fact, let me give you another year. 1992. That would be the year that every state finally said that Dr. King was worthy of looking at his born date. Now, he's not the only person. He's not the only colored person people have done this with. There's a lot of people that this has happened to, believe it or not. What I'm trying to show you is that what they do to one is what they do to all. We teach this all the time, right? If you're talking about sovereignty, for example, right? Why is it that people don't know 28 USC 300215A? You think that the United States of America has a capital, but by law, and I'm somebody who teaches law, right? By law. And this is something that everybody should learn, not just people of one race or whatever you want to call it, because race, once again, we've taught you that race is a word that comes from somebody who didn't even like himself, let alone like other people. So race is a competition. You see people up and down this beach right now walking past me and stuff. If we were to get in the race, it has nothing to do with your color. Okay, we would be trying to have a competition. That's what it is. And that became about animals. Then Carl Linnaeus made that about different races of people. So now people became races. And then from there, Charles Darwin, 1859, writes the book on evolution, right? The theory of evolution, the struggle for survival. The origin of species, theory of evolution by means of natural selection, or the struggle of survival for favored races. And that's when you started thinking about race even more intensely. Then you have other stuff, doctrine of discovery, et cetera, right? But that stuff didn't even exist. Matter of fact, if we want to be honest, even if you believe in the Bible, the Pope during the Crusades is the first person that really got y'all thinking that because somebody's skin color was a certain thing that y'all did. So even us Bible thumping people, you got to take the L on that, right? If that's what you're using to denounce it or whatever, you got to admit that some of your Roman Catholicism and therefore your Protestantism is stuff that's attached to something that's kind of crazy in that regard, and that has to be something you got to say. I'm not saying it's the only thing. There's a lot of great things about it, but we got to be honest, holistically, right? Even the word holy means to be whole. You can't give partial truth and talk about that you're whole. All right. That being said, all this stuff, do you recognize that we've all been mistaught? The Willie Lynch letter, right? Written 1712, December 25th, 1712, that's Christmas Day at a church service. Willie Lynch comes out and tells you that one of the things that has to happen for everybody to be controlled is that everybody of every race, if you want to call it race, every race must be controlled. The narrative must be controlled. And that people of one race must believe something that they've never believed before, which is that they're superior, and people of another race must believe something they've never believed before, is that they're inferior. And now what's happened is it's not just about black versus white. It's become rich versus poor. It's become Republican versus Democrat, and people don't know that everybody's working you for the same thing. If you learn how to love one another, love should be trumping everything. You said your siblings, yeah, siblings 64 and 62, right? My father is 70. So when somebody says 55 years ago is ancient, it's like there's still people alive. You know what I'm saying? There's still people that are living today, right? But I'm saying this to help you, though, right? We have this really weird mindset of stuff that's going on, and it doesn't make any sense. It's a really odd mindset that we have, right? We have a really odd mindset of things. Once again, going back to what I was saying, let me not stray too far away. Nobody teaches us 28 USC 300215A. This is United States code, by the way. This is not me making something up. This is not based off of your faith. This is not based off of science versus religion. This is based off of facts. You can look this up. You can Google this right now. If you don't believe me, stop what you're doing. Stop watching me. Go to your Google machine, look it up real quick, and then come back, right? 28 USC 300215, right? And you can look in subsection A, B, and C. You ready? 28 USC 300215 subsection A tells you that the United States is a corporation. It's not a country. 28 USC 300215B tells you that the United States is not only not a country, but it is a board. This is why you have a president. This is why you have a vice president. You have a secretary, you have treasury, all that stuff, right? Then 28 USC 300215 subsection C tells me that it is publicly traded, right? So anybody that belongs, that's why when we teach and we say get a DS-11 form, if you get your passport, when you look at your passport form and we tell people redo their passport, read the first paragraph that's in that section of the first page you're supposed to fill out, that you're not supposed to actually sign in that little box until you're given permission by the person who's going to approve your application, right? Or at least approve you to send your application in. And when you read that first sentence of the first paragraph, it says, do you want to be a United States citizen or a non-citizen national? It says, do you want to be a United States citizen or a non-citizen national? What does that mean? That means, do you want to be part of the corporation or do you want to be something that you can choose to be? If not, you are part of what is called a straw man. Not, you are not just a straw man in all caps. The country is a straw man. This Juneteenth mindset has you so messed up to forget that what was the original definition. This is Black's Law Dictionary. This is law. This is legal. Look this up. Once again, Google this, right? All 12 editions will say the same thing. By the way, Black's Law Dictionary, I'm pretty confident on this. All 12 editions will say the same thing, but maybe I might be off on that. You know what? You might have to look for legal definitions on this just as much as Black's Law Dictionary. It might not be in all of them. But hear what I'm saying, right? In law, in what's legal, after you get past that, there are two Americans, legally and lawfully. Not just only 28 USC 300215A that you're in a corporation, you're in a, or you're somebody who's private, but there's public and private. There's non-citizen national, there's United States citizen. And by the way, before somebody tries to hit me with this, I served. I'm a veteran, so please don't come to me with that. You didn't serve, you don't care. No, that's not what this is about. I still pop a salute when I'm asked to do somebody's funeral. I still, when I'm given a word and everything, and we say ashes to ashes, dust to dust, all that, I still give a salute because I respect anybody who is willing to put their life on the line for anything they believe in, period. Even if we don't agree on what we put our lives on the line for, if you put your life on the line, I respect you. right? I got a lot of brothers and sisters that didn't come back that I had to drag back to make sure their families can see their bodies. So so I'm the first person that somebody hits you with some stolen valor stuff, I'm coming at you, right? So I'm here to tell you all the stuff that you're talking about, right, is not based on me being anti anybody who served or saying that everybody who waves a flag is terrible or this and that. That's not what we're doing here. That's the furthest thing from what we're doing. Okay. So before somebody hits me with that, I'm just letting you know that's a bad place to take it. If your mindset is because I would say something that is truthful, it means that I don't believe in fighting for what you believe in because I served. Okay. So I'm just making it clear that some people see the dashiki, some people see the hair, some people don't see me speaking my original language, and therefore people say, "Oh, you didn't serve." No, I served. All right. All that being said, why is it that you were never taught in school that you can't have a capital of the United States? Because even by law, the United States Corporation, by law, look up law. Don't look up your feelings. Look up law. Why have you never looked up in Black's Law Dictionary to see that Washington, D.C. was in fact a territory? Then it was land given by Virginia and Maryland. Virginia asked for the land back, and now it's not even a territory, but it is subject to Congress, and Congress has no power outside of it. Therefore, it is part of what? It is part of a corporation, which once again, by law, 28 USC 3002 15A tells you it's a corporation. 28 USC 3002 15B tells you that it is a board. That's why you have a president and a vice president and a secretary and a trustee. 28 USC 3002 15C tells you that it is publicly traded, which is why the dollar is terrible right now, not because America's bad, but because it has no gold or silver. So it is the same as cryptocurrency, for those of you who think that cryptocurrency is evil. Right? I'm not telling you anything that's not lawful. But a Juneteenth mindset has you forget, once again, the original American was a what? There's two Americans. The original American was a copper-colored person indigenous to the Americas, which means that you have the original American, and then you have the people who said we're going to put on blackface, throw some tea off, put some paint on, put on the outfits of those that we scalp, and now we're going to say we're the Americans. So you becoming a non-citizen national shouldn't be a problem for you if there's two versions of an American anyways. You see what I'm saying? But a what's the mindset? A Juneteenth mindset in this regard makes us believe. Yeah, $5 Indian stuff like that. Yep, China's been putting money into crypto. Yep, America is as well too. Stop with the whole America trying to fight. America's got Bitcoin. America's got American corporations especially. But people don't want to have an honest conversation, an honest dialogue. How can you say that you trust things that you've been taught and you don't even know the difference between a corporation and a country? This is why when you go to court, by the way, this is why when you show up in court, it will say the people of I'm in Florida now, right? It'll say the people of Florida against so and so. Why? Because the people of Florida, the word people means nation. A person is an individual. People is not the plural of person, right? Right? There's people does not mean a plural, is not a plural form of person. A person is a person. The plural of person is persons with an S on it. So persons do not necessarily mean you are a people. And we have a lot of persons who are out here trying to find their way to be able to keep attaching people who are against them into what they believe in their culture. This is why I have an issue when people want to talk about different things and different reality. This is why when I hear somebody trying to say something as far as what's going on, that I have a little bit of frustration, because nobody wants to incorporate culture into these conversations. You cannot tell me about anything without the culture in which it comes from. Stop telling me about the kingdom of heaven and you don't know the culture of which the people talked about the Dashamayam. If you can't tell me about that culture that you don't know, you're just basically saying something about how you feel or somebody else who is misinterpreting your culture, right? And how they feel. How you doing, Mav? Yeah, well, we're not able to go to South. We'll do that hopefully, prayerfully. We got to try and get down there. I'm just like I said, I've been telling y'all, got to see what I can do to put some money together. But our goal at some point, hopefully, is to make it down a little further south. We won't be able to do it this time. Praise y'all. right? But hear what I'm saying, right? People don't want to operate because you got this mindset that says that it's okay to go ahead and have the very system that has you at each other's throat, has you black versus white, Republican versus Democrat, man versus woman now, right? But those are the people we're supposed to go to help us to unify. It doesn't make sense. These people are not proficient in truth. Why is it that CNN tells you that Fox News is bad and Fox News tells you that CNN is bad, and both of them are recorded saying the same script? Why is it that Michelle Obama said it better than Melania Trump, and both of them, or whatever? I'm sorry, I'm not saying her name right, but both of them copied it off of Lady Bush. Does it really matter? If none of them did anything to improve it and we're all still fighting, then what did the speech matter in the first place? No, who cares who copies it? But you see what I'm saying? But the mindset that we're given is that we should continue to be at each other's throats. Whether you like it or not, you can be Taino, or some people would say Tiano, right? But Taino, you can be Arawak, you can be Jamaican, you can be Cubano, you can be Puerto Ricano, you can be Dominicano, right? Whatever it is, guess what? You all the same people. I don't like that. No, he didn't. No, blah. No, look, obviously I'm simplifying it some. I mean, we can talk about these people who were indigenous or these people who came from other places, whether it be in chains, whether they came out of freedom. Yeah, there's some of that, sure. But hear what I'm saying. There's a lot of people who won't even say you're my brother, even if we carry the same DNA, because you've been taught to be separate. And then when we celebrate each other, it's only to allow other people who caused the separation in the first place. And when I say other people, once again, I'm not saying every white person. That's foolishness. Not all skin folk is kinfolk. Just because you look like me or have a certain shade that's familiar to mine or similar to mine, it does not mean that we should inhabit the same mindset, we inhabit the same space, and we uplift the same culture, and we support each other. There's a lot of brothers that look like me that don't do right by their children. There's a lot of brothers that don't look like me who don't do right by their children. Okay. But what I'm saying is, at least instead of running away from this stuff, let's see where this stuff came from that causes us to be so anti-humanity. And people get mad at me, and this is why, and I praise y'all that as we're growing and as the community's growing, as we're doing more stuff worldwide, as we're traveling, as we're being able to speak to people all over the place, like people don't realize, people think when they think of me that everybody who's part of this organization looks exactly like me, and that's the furthest from the truth. Because there's a lot of people that look like me who would be the first people, more so than what you think the enemy is supposed to look like. They would be more so against what I'm saying because they've been schooled by them just as well as everybody else. So right. So I'm not here to tell you this group of people is better than this group of people. I'm telling you we should respect culture. And back to it once again, that Juneteenth mentality has become something to where we have once again had something that is something that we use to be able to see ourselves in. And now we say, how can we make sure that everybody else, how can we change it enough to make sure everybody else is comfortable enough? Memorial Day, once again, used to be for a certain group of people. Now, how can we change it to make sure that everybody else is comfortable? Thanksgiving, by the way, go back to Europe. See, people don't like to do etymology. Go back and look up the history of the word Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving in Europe used to literally mean to fast. Abraham Lincoln doesn't change the definition of Thanksgiving until, 1865? Right? So Abraham Lincoln doesn't change the definition of Thanksgiving. So you think Thanksgiving means come together, eat, and get fat and overeat and all this stuff. And Thanksgiving was never in America. Matter of fact, the first meeting that they put, usually, not always, but usually the picture you guys are familiar with, or the pictures you're familiar with of everybody coming and sitting at the same table. If you look at some of those pictures carefully, you notice that there are no indigenous or Wampanoag women at all. It's only male. It's only male. You know why? Because they didn't come there to eat, drink, and be married. They came there because they were signing the treaty. There was no trust on either side. And it wasn't just Puritans that came over on that rickety boat that you romanticize into something else. Remember, those people, they didn't even like those. See, this is why we got to get past color. Remember, when they came over, who you call the Puritans now, they thought that Protestantism wasn't going too far to remove itself from the Roman Catholic Church. They were going to get offed by the King of England. They run out of England into where the Deutsch are. their children start growing up around Deutsch people and start learning Deutsch language and dressing like Deutsch people. They didn't like the fact that their children were belittling themselves by taking on somebody else's culture. They go back, so they're so anti the Dutch or the Deutsch that they literally come back before the king who wants them to be offed, and they ask permission. Will you allow us to go to a prison colony called the Americas? Just like Australia was originally a prison colony. They did not have enough space to put everybody in prison or to have these ceremonies, where they put people to death. So the king just says, whatever, put him on this rickety boat, the Mayflower, which basically had almost capsized a few times. And he says, put him on this boat, and hopefully the worst happens to him. If they make it over there, it's a prison colony. The natives don't like us over there anyways. They're not gonna make it. That's how that happened. But once again, here's this whole thing of where we remix the story of mankind, and we take it from the story and our story and a human story to now making it his story. His not meaning white, his meaning the people that are teaching you that there's a such thing as white. I've taught on this before. People don't believe me, but there's no such color until recent times when people try to purify a certain group of people, which not all, quote, white people, unquote, believed in anyways. But it wasn't until you had people start trying to tell you there was a such color as white. If you want to look at a white blood cell, you must find a clear blood cell. If you want to look at white polar bear fur, you must find clear polar bear fur, right? You want to know why? Because everything that is alive, at least if you were an animal or a human being, everything that is alive has to have melanin. If you are plant life, you have to have chlorophyll. You cannot exist without chlorophyll or melanin and be considered to be alive. So if something is alive, it must have melanin, which means that you must have color. So if you have color, if you are alive, you cannot be by definition a white person. That the word did not exist like that until recent time. So even when we talk about this, we have to figure out who taught us this word white, or retaught it to us and told us that we should hate people that are white, or white people hate us just because of the color of their skin. It is foolishness. It is fallacy. It is somebody coming in and taking something that is not theirs and trying to remix it to make us think that it is theirs. It's the truth. It is. And if you believe that all human beings, regardless if you're a creationist or if you're in the evolution, or you believe that all human beings came from the same place, then that means we all have one father and one mother, which means the further back we go into our story, the darker we all become. So we should all be okay with us, and no matter what shade we come out of. And we should use that the same way. My wife is a herbalist, right? My wife uses colors to be able to say, oh, you know what? That's mullein over there. She uses shapes and colors. That's mullein. It heals this, right? You can also use it if you had to be able to do things to wipe yourself or whatever. Hey, that's cabbage. That's wild lettuce. That's this, right? And you can use it to wrap around your leg, or you can eat it for this. Hey, that's ginger over there. And you can see the color of this, and you can see the flower that comes off of this. Hey, that's that particular flower. When it blooms, guess what? Fruit's going to come out of it. That fruit's going to be tomato. So you can see it by color. All of us have different color, and we should love it. It identifies what's coming up. It doesn't mean that because you're a certain color that you're not a plant. So when people say I don't see color, you don't even see what the Most High, or if you don't believe in the Most High, you don't even want to see what you say evolution had to come through in its intelligent design. Right? You hear what I'm saying? So people don't want to talk. People don't want to talk about this. People don't want to have honest conversation about this. People don't want to have honest conversation, honest dialogue. Right? We don't want to have the honest dialogue. And so since we don't want to have the honest dialogue, we're willing to go into dishonesty. Since we don't want to have honest dialogue, we're willing to go into dishonesty. People love to stay in dishonesty. See, we say this all the time. The reason why you're separated is not because uh, of truth, or I'm sorry, the reason why many people are trying to come together and have existence is because people would rather live on lies. Truth is going to have some people separate, and those who separate based on truth will come together and loving each other and getting off of some of this stuff and being afraid to talk about truth is something that's going to hinder many people. They didn't like what we were talking about. It's okay. Right? But this is why you see what I'm saying? And by the way, that's why we have moderators. See, people say, why do you have the moderators? Why your moderators do this? And they're always looking at us, this and blah, blah. They're looking at you like that because people come on and they lie. Yeah. Dark hates the light. But people come on and they lie. So I'm just saying, right? You got a lot of this stuff that's going on. You got a lot of hatred that's going on. And when we try to say, hey, like it's wrong for you to hate. It's wrong for you to bring this stuff up. Oh yeah, it would make sense if they're taking it down. Because once again, what's today? Juneteenth. As much as everybody says they're for Juneteenth and they're for each other and all this stuff, what's happening? The same people, once again, who would create the system, and you say, hey, we don't want you to go ahead and remix this. We're okay with this being what we claim it to be. They're now the very same people who would say we're going to take your life down. We try to. It's as plain as the nose on your face. There's not one thing that I said that said I made it a point to say over and over again. What happens is what somebody sees me, they see somebody dressed like me, they hear somebody who's not afraid to articulate certain things, but also is offending people of many different what you call races or tribes or branches or colors or families, etc. And what happens? People say, "I'm going to go ahead. We're going to take you down." You tell me the hateful thing that I said. No, they took it down. They said that it was hate speech. But a lot of people don't even realize. They don't even recognize, right? If we be honest about it, a lot of people don't want to be honest about the fact that when they call stuff hate speech, for example, there was a time on a live session that literally I repeated "I love you" over and over again, and somebody didn't like the fact that I was telling people that I loved them, and they tried to turn it into hate speech. Yeah, but this is why we have to be real. We got to keep it a buck. And people say, "Why do you have 4 channels?" I used to call myself the shadow band one. For those of y'all been around, I used to say, thanks. I used to say, may the words of my mouth, meditation of my heart be acceptable in your health and sight. He's our strength and our redeemer. And it's his name, which is authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, protect this message. I'm welcome everybody. I'm Pastor Kofi, the shadow band one, Pastor Servant of Christ. I don't say it anymore because my wife asked me to stop saying it. But I used to say that all the time. People don't believe me when I say we're shadow banned. Like, people don't believe me when I say we're targeted. And then all of a sudden people see it and go, oh, I guess he was telling the truth. Yeah, we're targeted. When people out here telling you they target stuff, we're not making it up. And then they say, why are you moderators? That's why the moderators y'all say moderators need to chill. No, they don't need to chill. We was relaxing, having a great conversation. And then people say, well, why don't you really go deep into stuff? There's a lot of stuff. See, this is surface level. I'm not even going deep. When we have the other stuff, y'all find out a bunch of stuff on some of the other stuff we go to. If we go to somebody else's platform, and I think it's something that I can trust, and I can, and they're in a position, where we can do it, because people don't want to hear this. Not at all. Our people, other people, this diaspora, that diaspora, whatever. Right? And you got to ask yourself why. Why is it that we are simply saying, don't allow people with the Juneteenth mentality? The same people that will say we should all get along will be the same people that cancel you when you say, well, yeah, we should get along, so why can't my culture be admitted? Is admittance of my culture cause for shutting this live session down? Of course it's not. But that's what somebody did. You have to ask yourself. These are the same people that are saying y'all talk about this stuff too much. You got to ask yourself, how is it that I talk about it at all? Because the person who did it obviously has never heard me speak before. So it's your first time listening, and you didn't even listen in long enough to hear how crazy I said it is to be racist, or reverse racist, as you might call it. Right? While we're on, matter of fact, before I get too busy, because I know I will. Like, see, because when this happens, I was just talking about this with somebody earlier today, and I've told y'all this before. What happens is I have to now go to TikTok legal. I have to contact them. Right? I have to go to them now. Right? Praise y'all. And I'm going to have to literally, right? I'm going to have to go to them. I'm going to have to contact them. And I'm going to have to literally say, okay, here's the proof. Here's the evidence that I didn't do this. Here, you can look at it, and you can listen to the whole session, and you can hear that I'm not, messing up you're messing up with community guidelines. Right? Like, I have to do that. So people say, well, why are you guys so tight knit or this and that? We have to be tight knit because people be out here lying, or TikTok itself lies. Right? TikTok itself lies. I have to literally go on here while I'm talking to you and have to say, all right, here's the link of our live session. You can listen to the live session. Where are we at, by the way? I got to look at my minutes. Where are we at? How many minutes have we been on when did this happen? So I had to tell them, like, start listening around the hour and 4 minute mark and listen from then on, because that's when you cancel what we were doing, and you tell me what I said that violated community guidelines, and then I have to give vague threats to let them know that I know what I'm talking about. I had to go through all that. And for what? And they make it really difficult. They make it really difficult when it doesn't even need to be. But I'm just trying to say, and all the stuff that we just talked about tonight, can you see now? Somebody say, I don't know why you're doing this. You're always talking about this. TikTok never does it. Can you see now? Why we have to go through this? Once again, you have lied about what was said on the live session. Sorry, y'all. Kofi _ Ofori 2 and have taken us down for another week. I would appreciate if you would look at the following video at the, what did I say, 1 hour and 3 minute mark, I think. Mark, to see what was actually said, so that this might be rectified by, or before we must get legal parties involved. All right, you got to go through all that. And then I'll get an email where they're going to try and make me do this all over again, and I'm going to have to write it all over again. But at least I started the process. But see, it's, and people go, man, you guys are making this up. Like, I have to, every time they do this, right? Praise y'all that we have several channels now, so that we can still go somewhere else and all this stuff. But every time they do this, that's what we have to do. Now, why should we even have to do that in the first place? Why was that even necessary? Why was it necessary at all? Right? No community guidelines. Somebody made an assumption. You see? So somebody says, why are you guys always on? Why are you guys on this much? Yada, yada, yada. Or why you have this many places that you're on? We have to just to be able to make sure that we can be in front of you. That's how wild it is. We have to do this just to ensure that we can be in front of you. You know, but Juneteenth Mindset has you believing that the same people that I have to keep doing that to are the same people that you should listen to. There are people that say, oh, he's shadow banned. How in the world are you shadow banned? And you've got 50,000 people who are on this channel. Just because I got 50,000 on doesn't mean that they're not trying to do everything they can to stop it. That should speak to you of how well versed we are in law and how we follow Yah's law, where he protects our rights and they ultimately have to back down because we're not lying out here. Right? Like, even if TikTok goes to some weird place of morality, they can't even say that we're messing up as far as morality because we telling the truth. Even if TikTok says that they try to say we racist, blah, blah, whatever. They check the stuff. You can't deny what I'm saying. Yep, here we go. Just like I said, clockwork. So now, hold on, I got to go back to what I sent, copy all that down, and then now resend what I just sent again. Praise y'all. But they got back to me. See, I know where so I send it to this place. They get right back to me once they see that, and then I got to send it again. Now to this other place. They say, okay, we want to make sure that you send it to the right place. So we want you to, even though they don't want me to send it anywhere, but they have to. Now that I send it, and that's one of the things we teach in sovereignty too, right? If you send it in, remember I've said that before. I know this is getting off track now, and we got to get ready to take our leave anyways. I got to get ready to get some stuff together before we head on the road tomorrow. But remember, I was telling you guys who's taking sovereignty class that you make sure when you send it the right way, they have to respond, right? They have to respond, right? And when they respond, then they have to. When they respond, they have to, ask. They basically have to acknowledge what you're talking about, right? They have to respond, and they have to acknowledge what your claim is. They can't just be sitting up here telling you that you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. This, that, whatever the third. Right? They have to admit wrongdoing. They have to, right? And then when they end up having to admit the wrongdoing, well, then now, what you're gonna do other than, okay, we'll go ahead and make sure that we do it correctly, right? So this is why we say, like, you got to be in position. You got to know what's going on. You got to be we have to be honest about it. We got to make sure that we're in accordance with everything, with law. Because what's going to happen now, because remember, whatever TikTok's written as far as their bylaws, thank you, Brother Henry, I appreciate you. Whatever they put as their bylaws, guess what that means? Whatever their bylaws are, that means that's what they have to live by. Whatever their bylaws are, they have to live by that. So whatever their bylaws are, technically that's law, period. Right? Because if we had to go in front of a judge, they know this. If we had to go in front of a judge, then the judge is just a trustee. They have to look at the trust. What is the trust in this case? The trust is what TikTok said is how they operate. See how all this stuff works in law? But once again, they'll have you believe all you got left is this. You have no alternative outside of us. And if we don't create alternatives, and if we don't stay strong, if we don't stay committed, if we don't learn law, you can't fight against when somebody does something to you like that. You said they told you your content was hate speech and ban you from live. Yeah. They do stuff like that all the time. And then basically you got to go to legal, and you legal on TikTok. And it's difficult to even figure out how to make that work, because they'll give you something, but you still got to send it to them. Then they'll bounce you back something, and you got to resend it in a different way. But you have to be prepared to be able to prove and show. And that's one thing they don't want. So you might even, from time to time, you might want to make sure, there's reasons why we use stuff. Like if I have a whiteboard and I got to record it, guess what? I can go through a recording and I can just take screenshots of what the board said. Somebody one time, I was telling this to somebody today. One time, somebody didn't like the fact that I was talking about male, female, and man and woman. Man and woman we were using for the spiritual aspect. Male and female we were talking about the physical aspect. Now, somebody who's trans, you would have thought even would have said maybe that's something that we should discover, or maybe we should ask questions. So you guys said that Yahweh is neither male nor female, and there's neither male nor female in heaven, or marriage and being given away in marriage in heaven. Maybe we should talk about that. Nope, the person didn't like that I used the term male and female. They lied and said that I was showing nudity. So I had to go praise y'all for a lot of y'all who sent me pictures of what the whiteboard had on and all that, and then I sent them the recording, and I said, like, y'all got to do something about this. That don't even make sense. Like, we're at the point now, because I went to them first, did the same thing. You submit the appeal, all that, and then they always come back. So now I don't even let them get back to me on an appeal. I submit the appeal, and just I'm already talking to legal. So that when you give me an answer and you say that you're coming against it, guess what my next response is? Okay, well, who do I need to talk to as far as making sure that I'm showing you that we're going to go to court? Because I'm going to send something to your CEO at his address, and I know he's going to miss it. And he's not going to catch it, which means that now you guys are going to be in the wrong when we show up at court. You want that, or do you just want to go ahead? I don't even care if you suspend me for the week, because Yah has provided for us in a manner in which we don't need your channel at all, or this one channel. We got this going. We got this going on. Right, by the help of the Holy Spirit, this thing is taken care of. You can't stop this at this point, and you big mad because you can't stop it, but nevertheless, you still can't stop it. But once again, you have to know how their laws work. You have to know how the legal system works. You have to know how to deal with them. You have to look up. I would send I have to look and double check, Sister Tori. I believe you would send an email to legal@tiktok.com. I'm pretty sure. You will send the email, I believe. Matter of fact, I just sent one, right? Let me just look. You would send, so you would send a message to legal@tiktok.com, legal@tiktok.com. You'll get a message back immediately that says this is not monitored. And then they will send you, and then you read the rest of the message, and it will say, this is who you need to send it to. And then from there, you just follow the instruction. It'll ask you, like, what's your email address? What's your name on TikTok? And then basically, what's your beef? And if you have any pictures or anything that can be shared, here it is. Now, they make that difficult too, because you have to make sure that it's formatted correctly to even send. Because they want as little possibility of evidence being given to them as possible. Right. But that's why I said, if there's a way of you recording your stuff, or making sure that you can take screenshots of certain things or whatever, to make sure if there's certain things that they're going to mess with you on, you can make sure that you have that stuff in order. Thank you, Sister Nadine. And I know you guys support quite a bit, and I appreciate you even jumping over to this other one. I appreciate y'all doing that, right? But I'm just trying to tell you, people, this is what happens. Right. And guess how I know this? Because I have to do this several times a year. Had to do it to bring back 2 channels that were taken down. They tried to take down Kofi_43. When I first was able to bring Kofi_40 back, right? I didn't even know it was brought back, by the way. I went to legal. It took forever in a day. So I thought it was gone. Next thing I know, 2 years later, I pop up on there. Why? Because I accidentally, on another phone, trying to get TikTok up, I ended up putting down 2 years later, I end up accidentally putting in my old information to sign in. And I signed in. It said Kofi_40. I was like, wait a minute. I saw the numbers. I saw all the stuff. I saw the videos. I was like, oh, this is me. My hair is shorter and everything. I said, oh, okay. So now I got 3 out of the 4. I got to now add Kofi_44. I can only have 3 up on the device at the same time. So now I got to add Kofi_44 to another device, so we can make sure that we get that up and going again. That's why I haven't been posting on there. But yeah, that's why we have 4 TikTok channels. That's why we have 2 YouTube channels. That's why we have, if you're with us on Facebook, we've got about 8 different things that we put stuff out on Facebook every day. 8 different places you can find us on Facebook. That's why we're on Twitter, even though nobody follows us on Twitter, but we're on there just in case we ever need to go on there. At least we got something established. On IG, I don't really do much on IG anymore, but we got something established. Right? These are the reasons why we have multiple places. This is what the world has gotten to where it's so against you that you've got to have so many places just to hide. And this is why when people say, why do you have hashtag find Kofi? Why do you have that? Because we were at a place at one point to where we knew that if we didn't do, and see, once again, this is the Juneteenth mindset. You got to fight against it. They would have you believe that you don't even need to know about yourself and just make sure that you are included with everybody. And then eventually your stuff goes away. It's no longer yours. I had to get to a place where not only did I start copywriting things, but also part of the hashtag Find Kofi experience was that, especially on the first channel, we were doing more activism. We were still about the word of Yah, but it was more into activism than anybody else. Matter of fact, SOC University, when it started, we couldn't even get Hebrew Israelites, Africans, Caribbeans, whatever, black folk, natives. We couldn't even get them to come to the university. It was everybody else who wanted to learn because none of our people wanted to learn. Because unfortunately, what happens many a time, much of the time, is that the last people who really want to get the truth about their people from or about or the last people who really want to listen to us usually is us, unfortunately. How you doing, PPC? Right? So we ended up, out of necessity, we ended up actually starting Kofi_42, and the Most High said, now with this one, you're gonna be focused on word first on everything. Still be an activist if necessary, still tell the truth, still give historical documentation, but the focus now is don't just have SOC be a thing on the side, but now make it a virtual reality, so to speak. Right. And then from there, Kofi_43 came when they shut down Kofi_42. And every time they shut it down, it was always when we were getting ready to raise money for something. Those of you who've been with us long enough, if you think about it, every time that we had to restart, it was always when. So when Kofi_40 popped up again, and I didn't even know about it after a couple of years, guess what I had to do? I had to go all the way back, and they hit me with violations. They didn't even tell me that I had been on for a year and a half, or however long I've been on. I might have been on for 2 years and just not known it. Right. But they didn't even tell me I was back on. As soon as I got there, it was saying you're in danger of being shut down. They were ready to shut the channel down. They had me hit for all these videos. So I don't know this. So I go, okay, let me appeal. Guess what? They were like, oh no, it's been too long. You can't appeal. But you didn't even tell me that I was back on. You told me I was kicked off. That's how wild it is, right? So then I had to start going back and finding all these videos that I had for evidence that I didn't violate community guidelines for years of stuff. And then stuff that was posted as regular videos, they were like, that's violates community guidelines. That I couldn't even look to see what it was about. So I'm just telling you, you got to be ready to go. These same people, it's a Juneteenth mentality. They'll have you believing that everybody's on the same page and we all love each other. We all get together and it's kumbaya. Not at all. Not at all. If it was, then you would treat me like a human being. Right? TikTok, run tell that. Why do you keep kicking me off and saying that I'm doing stuff that I'm not doing? You know, one time they said that we were telling people how to sell drugs. You know, they did that before. I put it out. I posted it. You can go. I mean, you got to scroll through a lot of videos. So I mean, maybe you don't want to do that. But I put it out there. I showed what it said. We got kicked off. I forget what I was talking about. I think it had to do something with Revelation. They said that I was teaching people how to sell drugs. One time we were talking about marriage. They came out and they said that we were telling people how to groom people. Yeah. Yeah, it's all fun until they realize you about to be free. But that's what I was talking about today. The Juneteenth mentality. Don't get caught up in all this stuff to the point to where you start trusting the oppressor and think that because the oppressor is saying that you can celebrate something openly, that it means that they want you to celebrate it. They want it to be integrated, so they say. But remember, integration literally means two things become one. Integration means we all become one. And you have to ask yourself, in becoming one, what is it at the expense of? See, in a marriage, some people want you to be married, but they want you to get rid of everything that is you and everything that is positive about you. And they want you to get rid of everything that's negative about you. And they want you to be an empty vessel, so to speak, that can just be a doormat. Run from that person. There are some people that want to be married and want to get integrated and want you to bring the best of yourself. Question: and all this integration that's been going on in the West, why is it that integration always comes at the cost of my culture? I'm going to say it again, and then the Holy Spirit said it's time for us to take our leave. So I'm done. If integration is supposed to be us becoming one, why does integration always happen at the expense of my culture? That being said, thank y'all for being on. Prayerfully, I don't expect it, but prayerfully, we'll be back on tomorrow evening on Kofi_42. If not, for whatever reason, we would like to go ahead and invite you to be ready to come to Kofi_40 in the evenings. We'll still do Kofi_43 for the rising. And thank you everybody who made their way over here. We appreciate it. And we hope that you guys are doing well. Please check out my wife, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And as always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, just allow that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. Take care of each other and love on each other. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.